We've had a really amazing opportunity to defend Texas, to represent Texas.
Attorney General Ken Paxton just loves to tell us all what he's done for Texas. Except for your right to know about just what else scandal-ridden Texas Tech is now hiding.
How does the AG's office still in good faith represent you?
You could fill one of those big elevators with Ken Paxton lawyers you're paying to help Texas Tech keep secrets just about the firing of former football coach Mike Leach, even though it happened nearly 11 years ago. So what's the big deal?
Why don't you get out of here?
Excuse me?
We don't want to ride the elevator with you.
Well, I'm going to ride it with you just because you said that.
It's been proven from the beginning to the end of this thing that they lied every step of the process. And obviously they don't want these lies exposed.
On September 11th, the count them third judge in our legal fight with Texas Tech will decide if Ken Paxton's office should now be disqualified from this 2.5-year-long legal fight over public records. We say Ken Paxton is clearly helping Texas Tech break the very law he's supposed to enforce.
Rather than responding and just giving us records that the public has a right to know, that's why they call it the Public Information Act. They don't call it the good old boy gets to keep it secret despite what the statute says act.
Did you read this nonsense? It's almost funny that Texas Tech actually argues that we're trying to eviscerate the Texas Public Information Act, part of our, quote, media smear campaign to poison public perception about the university.
That is one big pile of shit.
Oops, I guess I should have told you to close your ears, but that Jurassic Park scene, well, that kind of sums it all up, don't you think? Because all we ever asked for was public records. Look, I know Texas Tech cheated Coach Leach. I know they unfairly smeared his name. And if they had any class out there in Lubbock, they would have given the guy his $2.5 million years ago. If Tech had really nothing to hide, they could have said, hey, Dolce Fino, look at anything you want. Instead, Tech is actually using our fight with the AG's office to vow they'll never pay any money to Coach Mike Leach, not even $1. No matter how bad they cheated him, no matter how bad they lied about him.
My records aren't the only ones that Texas Tech is covering up. They're covering up any records they feel like covering up.
We don't have to go back 11 years to prove there is clearly a cancer of secrecy at this place.
A painful, abusive, and toxic culture within the Texas Tech women's basketball program.
Just last month, Red Raider fans learned their women's basketball players had been horribly mistreated for years. Texas Tech hid those public records for at least a year. Here's the bottom line about the Texas Tech investigation. We know for sure they destroyed records in the Leach case. And we also know they've been busted at least twice for illegally overcharging us for the cost of public records. And the Attorney General knows Tech is still lying. But do they care? Nah.
And you got the AG's office on the one hand that's answering these records requests, and on the other hand, they're representing Texas Tech, and they're pretending like they're not in the same office, and they're pretending like they don't talk to one another.
And because they accidentally released thousands of documents Tech was hiding nearly a year ago, we know the AG knows they're lying too about the firing of Mike Leach. Want a classic example? Take a look at their most recent court argument. Quoting, in 2009, the university rightfully fired Coach Leach because he punished a player with a concussion by forcing him to stand for hours in a darkened equipment shed, end quote. But records Tech hid prove that's a lie. They know it. Former Chancellor Ken Hans wanted to fire Mike Leach even before any investigation was completed.
It's one of the most unbelievable things that I've ever heard of in the entire history of sports.
But the Leach case has also exposed the fatal flaw in the whole Texas Public Information Act law. Texas Tech has tried to charge us $500,000 just to see public records at a university we all pay for. We complained about overcharging, and under state law, you gotta complain to the Texas Attorney General's office, their lawyers.
they're the ones that get to decide whether or not they overcharged for the document.
And we've learned during our chats with Ken Paxton's minions that they really hate those public right-to-know questions. How annoying.
How in good faith does the Attorney General look Texans in the eyes when he's representing a state college that clearly has been caught lying? How do you guys do that? I mean, isn't this supposed to be the public right to know?
Mr. Dolcefino, the Attorney General's office does not comment on pending litigation.
But just ask the Attorney General's office. There's no conspiracy here because the lawyers fighting against us in court, well, they're completely different folks than the ones who are fighting our complaints about cost.
There are hundreds of attorneys and a number of different divisions, and those divisions also operate up through separate chains of command, and we're able to put a separation between the handling of one and the handling of another.
That's why the mail this week proves that somebody in Austin is lying. In July of 2019, we complained when Tech wanted to charge us more than $5,000 just to look at emails about Coach Leach and me, the guy Leach hired to, quote, hammer the university. No word from the Attorney General since November, 11 months. In June of 2019, we complained about the cost of Region phone records. Didn't hear a word from them since November of last year. In August of 2019, we complained about the cost of emails sent from the current chancellor to the regions. Hadn't heard a word about that one since last Halloween.
Oh, no candy if you trick or treat without a costume.
We also complained then about the cost of seeing just the athletic department emails about Coach Leach. Never heard a response at all about that one. That's one of the reasons we asked the court to finally say, enough is enough, Mr. Attorney General. But guess what? Now, just days before the hearing, the Attorney General finally sends us all these letters trying to answer our pending cost complaints.
Oh boy. Clean up in aisles 3, 2, 1.
All somebody from the Attorney General's office had to do was walk down the hall, walk right through that Chinese wall that you're talking about and say, hey, look, this judge may actually order us to produce some documents, and we don't want to have egg on our face. Can you help us out a little bit?
That's why this guy, Assistant Attorney General Adam Biggs, sure has a lot of nerve. He's Ken Paxton's top chief litigator, and he's offended by us. Our, quote, mere assertion of such ethical issues, he writes so nicely, quote, cast a shadow of impropriety over defense counsel and the court.
Well, if the shoe fits, wear it, and if the truth hurts, bear it. Well,
You think it looks bad?
I think it looks dirty.
Doesn't it make the whole law kind of stupid because you're representing the very people that are lying and cheating? How does that make sense?
Well, if the shoe fits, wear it, and if the truth hurts, bear it.